Like, do they wrinkle after each wash? Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, I'm going to be pressing this DTF transfer right here onto a t-shirt, and then I'm going to wash that t-shirt 10 different times, and after each wash I'm going to show you what it looks like. That way we can see the progress of it on whether it's losing color, it starts to peel, it wrinkles, or all of that, just to see if it actually survives being washed multiple times. So this particular transfer right here is from Ninja Transfers. So if you're curious to see how well this does with being washed, then let's get started. I'm starting by placing my DTF transfer on my t-shirt and pressing it for 15 seconds at 310 degrees Fahrenheit. This is a cold peel, so I'm using a cooling block to speed up the process. After it cooled, I went in to peel it, but it didn't seem ready, so I gave it another press. After this one cooled, I carefully peeled it off. Then I placed parchment paper over it and pressed it for another 15 seconds. This is supposed to give it a more softer and matte finish. And voila! And here we have it after the first press. So there are a few things that I did want to mention. So I didn't notice this after pressing, but for some reason the transfer doesn't seem to be completely flat on the t-shirt. So obviously it's on the t-shirt, but the center right here, you could just feel that it's not completely flat. So I don't know why that is. And then another thing, there does seem to be moisture all over the transfer. So let me show you an up close. It's just little moisture marks just all over. It just looks like little dots. So I don't know why that is. So I think I want to repress this just to see if the little marks go away and if the transfer gets completely flat again. And here we have it after it's been repressed, and honestly that made such a difference because the transfer is completely flat now. I don't feel that little bump in the center anymore. And then those moisture marks are completely gone. Like, it's not anywhere in the transfer, so that's good. I'm so glad I went back and repressed it. So now for the washing part, with DTF transfers you do have to wait 24 hours before throwing it into the wash. So after the 24 hours, I'm going to turn it inside out, throw it into the wash, and then let it air dry. And then we're going to come back to see how it looks. Here it is after it's been washed. So it is a little wrinkly, but that's just because it was tossed and turned in the washer. But besides that, none of the edges are lifting, no peeling, none of that. I run my hands through it and the only thing I feel are those little wrinkles, but I could tell that the transfer is still very much on the shirt. So that second press definitely helped a lot. And then also the colors are still very much saturated. So it's good to see that none of the color was lost after washing. So far it's looking really good, so let's go ahead and continue washing. And these are all being washed using the delicate cycle because that's what I use on all my shirts. And here we have it after the 5th wash. So the transfer is still going strong. It's still very much on the t-shirt. The edges aren't lifting, the center still feels like it's pressed on there. The color is still very much saturated, so it's still going very strong. But I did want to mention, looking at these black parts very closely, there does seem to be like little gold specks in it, like little gold particles. I have no idea where they came from, and I know that this is new because I was looking at the transfer closely, obviously, after every wash just to see if things changed. So it does have little gold specks, but you can't tell unless you're like really looking for it. Like if you see it normally, like a normal shirt, you can't tell. This, you have to really pay attention to it. It doesn't take away from the transfer, but I did want to mention it just because we're going based off of wash after wash to see if things change. But besides that, it's still going strong. And as you saw, obviously it survived being washed with a delicate cycle. So now I want to try washing it with the normal cycle to see if that changes anything. So let's go ahead and continue washing. And here it is after the 10th wash. As you can see, this totally survived being washed multiple times. There's no lifting, no peeling, no fading, none of that. I'm glad to see that this totally survived, and not even just surviving the wash. It survived being washed in 2 different settings, the delicate cycle and the normal cycle. But there is a major difference with what I noticed after washing some with the delicate cycle and some with the normal cycle. So the first 5 washes obviously were with delicate cycle, and as you can see, the transfer did come out being a little bit wrinkled, but in comparison to the normal cycle, that one just straight up folded it like way more. It's as if it got the transfer and just went like that, bunched it up a bunch, and then just like opened it back up. It was just so weird. So that's exactly the reason why I tend to wash my clothes with a delicate cycle, because obviously it's delicate and not as intense. So that's why moving forward, I'm gonna continue washing all my shirts and pants and clothes that I wear using the delicate cycle, because I learned my lesson with this. It just doesn't really treat your transfers with care. So as you saw, this one definitely survived all 10 washes, but now I wanted to show you what it looks like next to the original transfer. I have another one, so here we have it. This is a transfer. This is a shirt. This is a transfer. This is a shirt. As you can see, the transfer definitely has a bit more of saturation in comparison to the shirt. You see that? It's kind of faded a little bit. You see that? It's a little bit less bright. But honestly, on its own, you can't even tell that it's not saturated. It's just in comparison to this one that it doesn't look as saturated. And honestly, I don't even remember if after the transfer was pressed, it was this bright. Because you know how sometimes something looks bright and then you press it and the heat kind of like tones it down. So maybe that's what happened here. I'm not exactly sure. But on its own, I think it looks fine. I feel like it blends more with the shirt. It just gives it a more worn look, more vintagey. As in comparison to this, it's more of like a cartoonish look. I don't know. I still love the colors on this one. I love the colors on this one. I'm gonna show you a side by side of what it looked like when I first pressed it and what it looks like now. And then I'm gonna let you be the judge on whether you think it changed or not. But besides the fact that it maybe lost a little bit of its saturation, it's nice to see that at least it survived being washed so many times. And here we have it once again. Honestly, I'm super glad to see that it actually survived being washed so many times. For those that don't know, I'm very new when it comes to working with DTF transfers. I just started, I think, back in December. So all of this is very, very new to me. So me doing this test of washing them so many times is very new to me, because the transfers that I have tried, I've only washed them like maybe once or twice, not a whole 10 times. So I'm glad to see that at least this particular brand does survive being washed so many times. So as you saw, I didn't even notice till I pulled up the actual transfer itself that it might have lost a bit of color. But as you saw that little clip that I showed of what it looked like with the transfer on the shirt and then without the transfer, so definitely this carrier sheet does give it a bit of saturation, and maybe the heat just took away a little bit. But still, I feel like in comparison to the way it looked originally after being pressed, maybe it did go down a few notches of saturation. But if you were to look at it, I don't think you would assume that it's not as saturated. I personally still like it. I'm curious to see how it's gonna look like after another 10 washes. We shall see. Maybe in a year from now, I'll do like an update on what it looks like now after being washed a whole year later, you know? So we shall see. But honestly, I'm so glad to see that this at least survived, because honestly, when I did first try out these Ninja transfers, one of them came out super wrinkly and I was like, is this what these transfers are all about? Like, do they wrinkle after each wash? That particular transfer was pressed on a canvas tote, so I'm not exactly sure if they react different to totes. But the few that I have tried on actual clothing haven't had that wrinkle problem. So at least we know that it actually survives being pressed onto an actual garment, which I like, because most likely that's what I'm going to use it on a garment. And I know this test wasn't about HTV, but I did want to show you that this shirt actually had this as well. This is some HTV right here, and this one still seems to be going strong. So there you have it, some HTV. And DTF actually survived being washed 10 times. And another thing, I'm so glad I went back to repress it when I noticed those little moisture marks and it not being completely flat in the center, because I bet you if I would have washed it, if it looked like that, it would have peeled. I think the center just wasn't completely pressed on there or what, but I just know for a fact that if I would have washed it, it would have come out like wrinkly or something. So I'm so glad I went to repress it, because obviously it survived. And like I mentioned, this transfer right here is from Ninja Transfers. This video is not sponsored, but I do have an affiliate link with them if you want to go ahead and check it out. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you found this very helpful. I also want to do this with other DTF brands, so if you know of any, let me know, because you know I'm new to all of this. So thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to leave me your thoughts in the comments, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you're not already, and yeah, I'll catch you in my next video. Bye.